in 1973, and she just happened to meet Chogyam Trungpa that same year. Originally from New York City, she began teaching Shambhala programs there in the 1980s. Eve moved to Halifax, Nova Scotia in 1990 and began to teach and lead a wide range of Shambhala and Buddhist programs in North America, Europe, and South America. She was an acharya, or senior teacher, in the Shambhala community from 2005 to 2020. Eve holds a doctorate in computer science and had a career teaching information technology and as a systems analyst for international financial institutions. Combining her technology skills and her aspiration to make these teachings more accessible to our global community, Eve founded Shambhala Online in 2006, and we are all richer for that, right? A longtime practitioner and teacher of Tai Chi, she also enjoys playing the piano. And once again, we're so pleased to have her with us here today. Welcome, Eve.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay, good. So I'm delighted to be here with all of you. And thank you to the Northern California group for inviting me. This is a favorite thing to do, is to be together with others and talk about what matters to us and how we can develop. And the theme today is discovering a joyful mind. And I'm particularly inspired to speak on this topic because it's easy to lose touch with a joyful mind these days. And I don't know about all of you, but this is something that I've been contemplating, how to stay in touch with my heart and not get overwhelmed by circumstances. I mean, we always have our life's ups and downs, but our news feeds are really horrific. And we have the geopolitical and environmental situation and all the war, hunger, the sort of so many difficult and dark situations. And I just this week in Nova Scotia, we've been having wildfires, and I don't have to talk to those of you on the West Coast about that. But it's very unusual. Usually you think of Nova Scotia, you think of a kind of a damp, chilly environment. And luckily today we have a damp, chilly environment, and everybody, usually the kind of weather that we hate to see in June, but everyone was praying for this weather, and it really hoping it quells the wildfires that are really ravaging. And just down the road, 151 homes were lost, completely destroyed. And that's just a few minutes away. And I personally had to be evacuated for just a short time. They were able to put out the fire that was really close to me very quickly. And but just getting a taste of that kind of displacement, and it's quite something. So I was really grateful that this talk about discovering a joyful mind was happening, because I had been contemplating that. And it came in very handy. And so I'm going to share that with that process that I have personal experience with. So really glad to be here and have the opportunity to share and learn from all of you. And so, um, the basis for discovering a joyful mind is really being able to genuinely connect with your own state of being and the world. And usually when we think about joy, it's, you know, it uh, you can think of it as some kind of blissful high. But we're actually talking about joy in a different way, allowing ourselves to really connect and be touched by this world. And we're going to get into that a little bit, more during the course of this session. But I wanted to start with the process of connecting with ourselves. And sometimes we call that meditation. And so I'd like to just start with a period of meditation, and I will guide you in that. And, often we think that if you're new to meditation, I don't know if anyone here on this session is brand new to it, but most people think that it's about cutting off your thinking process and being in this calm, neutral place. And that, I think that if you try to do, maybe you would like that to happen, but how's that working out for you? It's like, if you're a human, you're going to be thinking something, and it's more like that we don't actually try and stop the weather from occurring, but um, it's how we are able to accommodate the weather, whatever it is. And so it could be stormy or it could be clear, and we're going to have thoughts and feelings about things constantly going. And the mind is very playful, and the heart is very active and feels things, and we have all kinds of activity in our minds, and that's part of the meditation. So what we're doing in meditation is we're getting used to connecting with ourselves in a genuine way from what's happening right now. And there's no way that that's supposed to go. It's whatever you actually do have is what we're going to connect with. But so we're allowing our thoughts and feelings and uh, body to be as it is. And you want to, but in the instructions for meditation, which are very helpful, we actually allow ourselves to have a good posture. And the reason is that we want the energy to be able to flow naturally in the body. And so perhaps you can just allow yourself to take some kind of upright posture. And if you're driving in the car, would be most excellent as well. And we're going to just allow ourselves to be just as we are. And the idea is that we continually stay present with that, which is also quite impossible because the mind's so playful. It'll go off to the future and the past, and that's going to happen. And that is part of the meditation. And so we have a good posture. And if you're not driving the car, your hands can be on your legs, and your eyes are can be open if you wish, but they're soft, which means that we're have a peripheral vision and we're not grabbing any kind of um, um, visual stimuli, but just letting our eyes be just sort of general, and you can relax your uh, face and jaw. And your body is upright but relaxed, and you might actually feel your aches and pains when you do that. And that's what we've got. But we can let there be some room around those. And if you need to adjust your posture to relieve some um, pain, you can just go ahead and do that. So what we're learning to do is we just really trust ourselves and letting ourselves be who we are. And you can notice what's occurring. You can notice the contact of what you're sitting on. You can notice your mental activity. Is it really rushing or is it more quiet? Not trying to stop anything, just noticing what's there. And we can also notice what are how our senses are engaged, colors and forms and shapes. And you're probably sitting in a relatively quiet room, but it's not completely quiet. And what are you hearing? Maybe some sounds are near and some are far away. And one sensation that's always occurring is the breath in the body. And we can take a moment just to feel that. And we're not manipulating the breath, just whatever breath we have. It's going in and leaving. And one thing that we can um, pay, keep light attention on, even though there's a lot of things going on, thoughts, sensations, senses. But if we keep a light attention on the breathing, that helps anchor us in the present. And just feel yourself breathing. And at some point, you might realize that you've become detached from your present experience. What's for lunch? And you start here absorbed in salad ingredients, where you begin to worry, make plans, think about something that happened and feeling the emotion. And we're no longer in the room. And this is a natural part of meditation. The mind is playful, it's going to stay present for a little while. It's going to go off somewhere else for a while. And then for some reason, you realize that you're back. Something jarred you out of the story. And what you do when you notice that you're no longer present is we have a choice there. Your awareness is already kicked back in. You're already back in the present. And you can come back to make the choice to stay with what you have. Maybe feel the breathing. It's recommended to bring you back to the present. Or you could go back into your being checked out. This is really up to you. And since discovering a joyful mind is the basis of it is being connected, so I have a recommendation about what choice, but that's really up to you. And so when you're back, you can just take a fresh start, feel yourself again, feel your breathing. And it's important to be very gentle with this process. It's very natural to come and go. That is the meditation. We're not manipulating our experience. posture, breathing, noticing what else is there. Going away, coming back. Ding. my, my gong is somewhere else. Okay. So hello again. Before I continue, if you have any, we can maybe just have a few questions about that. Later on, we'll be doing another short session of meditation with a little bit different emphasis. But for right now, I think a lot of the people here that those instructions were not a surprise. And maybe you could raise your hand if you have anything you'd like to ask or share this moment. I think you'll have to use the electronic raising hands because there's a couple of pages. Okay. Well, if you think of anything, we'll come back to that.
We got Lori.
Oh, have one? Yep. Lori, go ahead.
Hi there. That was a really lovely guided meditation. Thank you. And I'm not sure this question will feel very germane, and you can decide that. But do you feel that that meditation instruction that you gave during that, do you feel that's changed much over the years, or do you feel that's always kind of been the instruction?
Well, it could have maybe sort of always the instruction, but I have found that my process with it has changed, where we always sometimes get aggressive with ourselves and think, oh, when we've gone away, we're bad, and we have to come back. And it's sort of, there's a lot of, pulling back and forth. And but I have found that we can relax with the whole thing, that the whole thing can be very natural. Sometimes you have a lot of thoughts, but you still can feel your breathing. That's, part of it. And there's a lot of things going on. And we don't, and sometimes what happens is that we focus too much on one thing, and then we lose sort of the sense of the whole thing. And so I have found that just not manipulating, that's hard. Not trying to be good about it. Just see what you have and let it go back and forth. And so I think maybe what's happened is that we've maybe relaxed some more with the instruction, not so hard on ourselves, more gentle.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. Sounds right.
Okay. Okay. So I'd like to talk a little bit more about the theme of discovering a joyful mind. And one of the things that often happens is that we want to skip over the dark part and just get rid of that. Let's get rid of the dark and go to the joy. And sometimes we use our practice to do that, and we have different methods, and there's some kind of ambition about that. And and what I have found is that in my own process, my own process of discovering a joyful mind, is that you can't skip over where you are, especially if it's a small, you can get into a small dark place. And sometimes our spirit is low, and we become negative, and we don't regard ourselves well, and we feel like we're trapped in a mind and a world that's poisoned by anger and ignoring and wanting, and we feel down. And sometimes we can be despondent about the state of the world. And so I'm thinking out loud here, what happens, to me. And the circumstances, I don't think I'm alone in that. And circumstances can be very challenging and even overwhelming. And then when we think of a joyful mind, it could feel like, who are we kidding? You feel like really, that could be like naive or inappropriate. And then negativity is what makes sense. And aggression seems normal. And so we're talking about how to discover a joyful mind when you feel that way. And so the first step is not skipping over that. We want to skip over the low spirits and get to the better, more cheerful place. But one of the ironies of this whole thing is that if we aren't able to be with whatever we have, we're really not going to be able to get to the joy or a more open place. And so I'd like to do a little contemplation, and we'll need a little bit of bravery, but I'd like to explore what it feels like to be down and like feel trapped, claustrophobic, and maybe you're caught in a downward spiral. And so I'd like to do a little contemplation, and if you want, you can close your eyes and remember a time. You might be feeling that way right now, but if you're not, I'd like to encourage you to remember a time that you felt that way. Just like really stuck in some kind of dark place. And as you're remembering it, you'll have thoughts about the circumstances. And you'll also have how your body is reacting. And so we want to be able to sort of feel how our body is reacting to feeling dark and maybe helpless and depressed. You'll just spend a few moments and really let yourself enter that feeling. And now we have thoughts, we have feelings, and we can let the thoughts go more into the background and let the feelings that we have in our body, having entered this kind of situation, and let those come to those feeling, that feeling in your body come to the forefront. And see if you can attach a word or a phrase that sort of characterizes the feeling that you have in your body as you're remembering the situation. And if you don't, you would be so kind as to maybe put that word or phrase in the chat. If you already typed in your word, okay, here we go. Grief and panic, spinning up scenarios of what might go wrong, stuck, hopeless, closed, numb. Grieving, ashamed, pit of stomach, agitation, nauseated, despair, no out, predictions of doom, grabbed by the throat, buried and pinned down. Desperation, locked in, frozen, choked, illness coming on. Okay, so so from this list, maybe you resonated, either you offered one of those or you're or you resonated with something somebody else said. And so let's reframe that a little bit and just say, well, if that's the feeling that I have now. What is it that I want more of? What is it that I want that instead of that? And you can again put it in the chat. You could use your own word or some of the words that you heard. Happiness, accomplishment, comfort, aliveness, less anxiety, well-being, contentment, satisfaction, light and flexible, ease, relaxation, feeling of freedom, possibility, and hope, calm, loving, caring, relaxation of midsection, acceptance, right action, confidence, optimism, spaciousness, accommodation, lightness, space, okay, well, we can maybe end now with space, the final frontier. Joy, happiness, love, fulfillment, gratitude, appreciation. Yeah. And so I think that you've just described joy. And you weren't describing necessarily a blissful high, but just the qualities of being connected and accepting, accommodating, being able to accommodate. And, you know, I was during this week with the fires going on, and there was this story about the therapy dogs that the firemen have, 2 Saint Bernards, and they, so Nova Scotia, they'll be all over that kind of story. And one Saint Bernard is in the air conditioning, while the other one comes out and greets the firemen and loves them up. And then, will go up to them and insist on being patted on the head. And then they switch. So then after a while, that Saint Bernard goes into the air conditioning and the other one loves them up. And there's something about that story that, when we think of joy, it's not sort of like a happy-go-lucky kind of situation, but we're thinking about there's something that really we connect with, and it really touches our heart. And there's always like this, with my experiences with true joy, there's a poignancy to it. It's like when you see a flower and it's so beautiful and it's only going to be there for a few days. There's something so touching about that. Or when you hear a flute, it's kind of lonely, but it's so beautiful. Doggy sattvas, yes. And there's, bird song early in the morning, or you look at a child and here in Nova Scotia, we have a very late spring and the leaves come out extremely slowly. Yeah, we've just leafed out just now. And, or you're walking down the street and somebody offers you a warm smile. And there are these little things, and suddenly the world just doesn't seem so dark. And it's really small things. And so there's just a sort of a sense of, for a moment, well-being and appreciation for this moment, and connected to it. And then, maybe you start to spin out again. But in a moment, I'll describe how we can get from the dark place to this connected place. Um, but um, but first, I'd like you to think of your own example of when you've had that kind of joy, that sort of sad joy feeling. And what was it that you experienced or saw? You can put that in the chat. Maybe you're just looking at something right now and it's touching you. Mutual care and support, certain music, songs. Mhm.
Karen said, my cat who
My cat wanting to cuddle my husband's face. Flowers, my dog wagging its tail, loving friends, caring for me. My garden. Sunshine. Friend calling to see how I am doing. The bark of this redwood tree outside my window. Gathering with people I care about and have missed for so long. Bird song. Veggie lasagna. Being with my pregnant daughter. I was visiting my grandmother in the hospital. Let me see. I looked out the window just as a bald eagle dove for a fish in the lake in the distance. A few minutes ago, after you had us feeling the darkness, I heard you read the words of what we wanted to feel. My sadness was infused with happiness. Seeing mountain or ocean, cloud forms, watching a little lizard race by. Okay. Another excellent list. I noticed none of you said um, my new iPhone. or my social media feed, or you name it. Drugs, alcohol. Those And often people, try to find joy by disconnecting. And these things, if you're absorbed in your social media feed, you might not see the lizard or the clouds. And the world is very, society is so happy when you engage in consumerism. I mean, that's, you'll feel so much happier if you have this face cream or whatever it is. And so, oops, I got so excited about the face cream, my microphone fell off. So anyway, I think that you've nobody mentioned those kinds of things, which is interesting. Most of you were talking about some other being with phenomena or another person, or feeling that a connection to something outside of yourself. Yeah. Somebody saying a GIF of a lizard is very different from an actual lizard right in front of you. And so what we're talking about is really being able to open to the world and see what happens. So let's take just a 1 minute stretch, and then I'll tell you all the secrets. So just 1 minute. Okay, we all back? No, the ones who are back are back. Okay, I'd like to just do another a short meditation, and with a little bit of a different emphasis. So, are you ready? Okay. So the meditation we do is called mindfulness awareness practice. And in the first short meditation that we did, really noticing what was happening with us, and doing and mindful of that, and until we weren't mindful, and then we could come back and be mindful again. And one of the things that we're mindful of is the breathing, because it's handy. It's always there. And so I'm not going to do, the instructions are the same, but I'm going to add a little bit to it now. So like before, we're going to, have our posture and notice what's happening in the thoughts and feelings and body and sensations and body sensations and senses and the breathing. And then when you notice you've gone away from the present and absorbed in something or other, and it will naturally get interrupted eventually, and suddenly you're back in the room, then you can make the choice to take a fresh start and come back. But one thing that I'd like to think about now is there's something that knows what's going on. There's what's called awareness. So we have awareness of all the things that are going on, and we have awareness of being gone and then being back. And sort of all of those, whatever it is that you're noticing is happening in the vast space of awareness. It's sort of like awareness is like the limitless sky. There really isn't any boundary. It's just completely open. But it knows what's going on. And we could say that what's going on are like the clouds in the sky. And so things are coming in and out of existence like clouds. Sometimes the clouds take over the whole sky. But the sky is still there. And another way that we can think about it is that we have this river of experience. It's just flowing. All these experiences coming and going and all of that. So what I'd like to do is just do a little meditation. And so we can notice everything that's going on, but see if we can rest in the sky of the awareness and just allow those clouds to come and go. Or another way of looking at it is to be a big ocean and let the waves come and go. They could be big or little. So let's begin. So we're beginning as before. Posture and breathing. Noticing what you have. Notice that river of experience. Forms, shapes, sounds, body, breath. If you can, notice the sky within which all that is happening. You can just rest in that sky. Let the river flow. Not too focused on any one thing. It's like trying to hold on to a cloud or stop the river. Let yourself rest. Not trying to fix anything. And by resting in the sky, we're not jumping into the river. We can feel what's happening, but we're not getting swept away by one thing until we are, and then we come back and rest again. Ding. Okay. So, what I like to talk about now, and that meditation was sort of um, a hint, is what happens when we're in the dark place and we would like to discover a joyful mind. And so I'd like to describe a process for that. And basically, it's being able to connect with that limitless sky, both in our mind and heart, and also in the world, and sort of open up to a bigger possibility than that dark place. And then we might actually connect with those, the lizard or the cloud. And so step 0 is that you might feel trapped in some kind of state of mind, and you actually recognize that it's something that you want to do something about. And so sometimes you're so deep in it that it's hard to remember. So once you can remember that, wow, I mean, that you would like to connect with a joyful mind rather than the place that you're in, that's really the first step, that there's some kind of inspiration about that. And already that's a big part of the process, is remembering that it's not, that there is a big sky and you can connect with it. It's possible, because that's also there. Whatever it is that you're feeling, and the big sky is also there. And then the first step is actually how we started today, is that you feel where you are. You actually inhabit who you are in that moment. And it could be down or closed off or angry and really spinning out and really absorbed in a place and cut off because of that state of mind and state of being. And so you actually let yourself feel that, like let yourself go there. And step 2 is actually be kind to what it is that you're feeling and let your heart soften to it. Okay, this is what I have. Instead of hardening your heart to it and wanting to make it go away, it's like, well, okay, this is who I am in this moment. And then this is a part that is just abrupt, where you maybe, when we do this, we'll do this all together. But at that point, at the next step, you just abruptly look up. So we can have our eyes closed during the first steps, and then you abruptly look up and just let your awareness expand into the room, into outside, into look out a window. And they're just you sort of zooming out, and then maybe it zooms in to maybe a small thing. Oh, there's the flower. And then there's a moment you just feel connected to something. And then you go about your business. I had to, this week, I was very destabilized by having to evacuate and really feeling the force of that. And sort of really down about God, I'm in climate change. There it is. It's hit me. I had to leave my home. I just got a taste. Wasn't too bad. But I actually, I remembered these steps, and it really helped. So you want to try it together? Okay. So the first step 0 is just allowing yourself to feel, or actually step 1, you've already gotten to the part where you're going to do the process. And just feel where you are right now. And you can close your eyes if you like. You can close your eyes and just, who am I right now? Doesn't matter what it is. Down, up. Just really let that be there, whatever it is. Next step, really soften toward it. Be kind to who you are right now. Let your heart melt. Now, abruptly open your eyes and just let your awareness expand to the room and beyond, out the window. Whatever you were having before hasn't gone away, but now it's in a big sky. And just see what you notice. Okay. So I'm mindful of the time and would like to end on time. And that's in 10 minutes. And so this is where I would have a breakout room and allow everybody to share a little bit about what they experienced today or this, but we don't really have time for that, and I don't want to go over. So perhaps we can just have an open discussion. And so please use the electronic raise hands thing, or, because it's, I can't see all the screens. To have something that you would like to share or question, or please don't be shy. David?
The practice sounds to me, or I felt it like instant Tonglen, where you connect with those rotten feelings and then put them in a big space of compassion for everybody else who's feeling this way all over. So, but it's nice that it's so streamlined and simple. I love it.
Good. Yes, it is. It is very connected to that. Just sort of offering out. Just do it on the spot. Davis? Somebody in Davis?
Hello. Hi.
Oop.
Can you hear me?
Oh,
Yeah.
I think you need to turn toward the computer, because now I can see your face.
Yeah. Well, I'm the one that was doing grieving, and it was wonderful because a few months ago I had a nervous breakdown, and I really never could figure out why I had it, because it seemed to me like my life was pretty good right now. And what I found with this awareness, that it was about really old grieving that I never did. And when my when my father died, I had a nervous breakdown, and I had shock treatments and really heavy medication. So I never really I never grieved then. And then when my mother died, she had Alzheimer's, and I was glad that she died because it seemed like she was suffering so much. So I didn't grieve then. And then when my sister died, she died, and I sat by her bed. She was on a respirator for a month. And when she finally died, I was happy for her because she suffered so much. So I've never grieved my family. And I feel like with this nervous breakdown, it was about finally grieving that I hadn't done all those years. And I really thank you for this, because I feel like I'm in touch with that, and I can do something about it, you know. So thank you.
You're welcome. I thank you for sharing. And Jill?
Yeah. So what is coming to mind for me is kind of like it's a situation that was happening throughout COVID in lockdown. Is a lot of wonderful things were happening for me, but on the other, it's like there was part of me that was able to like come out and to see beautiful things and do good things. And then there was this other part of me that was like definitely stuck. And it's something that I'm dealing with right now, because I went back to school, and of course that completely absorbed me, but my house is just like It's like total chaos because I run through rooms like, and so I'm just wondering, it's like, what is the sensation? It's just like, on one hand, things are going,
Mhm.
but the other, like stuck and unstuck at the same time.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the big sky thing there. It's all there. You have all those different aspects are there simultaneously. And we honor all of that. That's who you are right now. And but it was interesting when you talked about your houses, then you went like this, a little bit, you don't want to look at that. And so so I think a sense of humor is very important, as I'm sure, as you well know, because you seem to have a good one. And it's yeah. And so, well, what happens is that you might get tired of having to not look at your house. And so then you might decide to spend a little time making it so that you can walk into your house with your eyes open.
Yes.
And then the odd thing is that you might spend more time doing that, but then your mind is fresher to do your other work. It's funny how that works out. When you uplift the environment, somehow you have more energy for the other things. So yeah, big sky, it's all there, all those different things. And it's all part of you. We can't get rid of one and magically and just have the ones you like. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Gregor?
Thank you, Eve. That was a lovely and just deceptively simple process, and I think like Jill, I have a list of things to do longer than my life expectancy, and I tend to get overwhelmed and kind of spinning out about what do I do next, what do I prioritize things, and I found myself kind of in that very tight, constricted space where it's really hard to get anything done because it's everything is kind of closing in, it seems sometimes, and just that sudden opening and expansiveness just created so much more space, and it was so fast. It was just delightful. So thank you for that.
Yeah, so the trick is to remember when you're spinning out, it's just pause and feel that, and feel your heart and look up. And then, it's sort of, the mind is naturally insightful, and you might, in that space, you might know what your next move is. I think we're at the end of our time, and I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to share some more with each other. But I promise you, if you come to the retreat in August, there will be plenty of time for that. And so thank you all for being here today.
And thank you, Eve. On that note, I'd like to invite everyone to join us in NorCal Shambhala's summer retreat, which is called Cultivating Confidence in a World of Doubt. So it dovetails very nicely with today's talk. It'll be this coming August 18th through the 22nd. Eve will teach from her home in Halifax, and you will have the option to participate from home or join in person at one of 3 Shambhala centers, Berkeley, Sonoma, and Davis, or all 3. Surprises. Between now and then, an online introductory meditation instruction session will be offered for new students. So tell a friend if you think they might be interested. And for more information about any of this and to register, you can go to norcal.shambhala.org. And last of all, everyone here will receive a follow-up email containing links to the recording of this talk and much, much more, because that's just the way we do things. Thank you again for being here. Thank you, Eve. And on behalf of Northern California, we wish you a most joyful and uplifted day.
Thank you. Maybe we can end with a bow.
Great idea.
Thank you so much, Eve.
Thank you, Eve.
Great to
Bye.
be with you.
Thank you.